Hi, this is Maria Riegger, your resident Gemini, with another Positive Parenting with Astrology video. Today, I'm going to share with you a technique you can use to instantly calm down and connect with your children when you are extremely irritable and angry with them and you are about to explode, which all of us parents have been there. By the end of this video, you will have this technique to practice on your own, okay? And you will see how it will instantly work to calm you down and let you focus on what is really important between you and your child. So first, please like this video, hit that bell to get your notifications, your free weekly Parenting with Astrology content, and please subscribe to this channel. If you would like the first two chapters of my book on Scorpio children or my book on Gemini children absolutely free, you can click on one of the links in the video description. All right, so here's the technique I'm going to talk about. First of all, think about a time when you were extremely irritated, frustrated, or angry with your children, and you were about to explode, or maybe you did explode, and it's okay if you did. We have all done it. So here's what I want you to do. Next time that happens, think about this. Stop for a second and think about if this were your last interaction you ever had with your children. If you drop them off at school, or you leave the house to do errands and something were to happen to you, or God forbid something were to happen to your child and you never saw them again, would you be okay with that being your last interaction with them? And if you would not be okay with that, I encourage you to study your behavior and change the way you're interacting with your children. Okay, it's easy for parents to get mired in the day-to-day vicissitudes of life and lose patience and lose focus. I have a hard time doing that too sometimes, keeping focus on what's really important. But this technique will help you stop, pause, and think about whether it is really worth harming your relationship with your child. And if you are constantly yelling or showing anger or irritation, if you're constantly doing that, I don't mean just once or twice. If you're constantly doing that, nagging your children, things like that, you are harming your relationship with them, okay? So think about whether the thing you're getting angry or irritated with in that moment is really important in that moment. For example, I am not an early morning person. I'm a night owl. I don't like getting up at 6:30 to get my kid ready for school. But I do it, and I'm often grumpy and irritable, or I start to become grumpy and irritable, but I always stop and force myself to be in a happier mood, to smile more, and not to rush my kid, not to raise my voice at him, not to get irritated with him, not to show irritation with him. Sometimes it's hard to avoid getting irritated, but not to show irritation with him when I have to tell him 5 times to get his shoes on, or when I have to remind him to grab his backpack because he's walking out the door without his school backpack. And I refuse to rush him and show a lot of irritation. And I tell myself, if we're late to school, we're late to school. In the grand scheme of life, it is not a big deal. I do not want his last memory of me to ever be of a grumpy, mean mom yelling at him to get his shoes on, frustrated and huffing. I don't want that. And to put that in perspective, when I was 11 years old, my father walked out the door, got involved in a car accident, and never came home, okay? So I know what that's like to experience that. And I remember my last interaction with him because he left very early that day. It was a weekend, and I was still in bed when he left. So my last interaction ever with him was the night before, when he came in my room to kiss me goodnight, and he told me, "Goodnight, I love you." And I was okay with that. I was okay with that being our last ever interaction because it was a very positive, loving, strong parent-child moment. So obviously, I don't wish ill on any of you ever, but think about if that were your kid's last memory of you, would you be okay with that, right? So I encourage you to stop and pause and think about that. I don't mean to be pessimistic, but that technique will really force you to pause and think about whether it is worth getting worked up and showing these extreme emotions about whatever it is you're addressing in that moment. Chances are it's not that important. In the grand scheme of life, it's really not important that your child do exactly what you tell them to do right at that moment, right? Or that they get a perfect grade on such and such test, or that they get their shoes on right at that moment, or like I said, that they're on time for school. If you're late to school one day, you're late to school one day, right? So that's what I'm talking about. It also forces you to calm down, because once you think about such a serious topic, you think, wow, obviously I wish that would never happen, right? So it's hard to be really angry when you're thinking about a serious topic like that. It also causes you to be grateful for your child, that you're so grateful to have the time with your child. Think about that. Parents who lose their children, they miss out on having that time with them. And here you have your child and you get to spend time with them and do all these things. It also leads you to be grateful for the time with your child. And when you have that feeling of gratitude, that comes across in your interactions with your child, okay? Because your children receive way more communication from you other than just verbal communication. A lot of kids read body language. I've talked in other videos about, I used to like dramatically sigh all the time, and I didn't realize how that was affecting my kid, and that he could tell I was incredibly frustrated, and that would make him very anxious. So kids read a lot of nonverbal cues. So when you feel that gratitude for having your child and having the time with your child, that comes across in the interactions, right? And you always want to be communicating to your child verbally and non-verbally that you love and support them unconditionally, right? That no matter what they say or do, you will always love them the same. So when they know that, that is the basis for this strong parent-child relationship. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. It is very important that you always think about what is really important in the grand scheme of life, because so many things we get irritated about during the day-to-day quagmire, as I like to call it, just don't matter. At the end of the day, they just don't matter. Okay, so focus on what is really important. Time with your child, connecting with your child. Always, always prioritize the connection and relationship with your child above everything else. Okay, so if you have any questions for me, please leave them in the comments. And when you use this technique in the future, please let me know how it goes. All right, take care. Have a great one.